Welcome back to Creating Your Life on Money and Wealth. This is episode 26, How Free Trade Arises. As you recall, I'm framing this discussion in terms of three islands: Gold Island, Iron Island, and Silver Island. This is to help simplify the examples so that when we get into more complex questions, it's easier to understand. Gold Island is where the population is absolutely honest and there's no need for lack of trust. Everybody behaves responsibly. Iron Island is pirates and bandits, and they basically are in it for themselves. Silver Island is a kind of mix. People have both sides to them. There could be really good people, really bad people in a mix. It's more like the real world today. In terms of defining things right now, we're talking about Gold Island. And as you'll recall from last time on Creating Wealth, we were talking about how it took each person, it was just for survival on Gold Island, and it took a lot of time to get what was necessary for people to survive. But the idea is wealth can only happen when you're able to move beyond mere survival. And so Tor and his wife Sophia, they invent fishing poles and slingshots, and in that process, reduce the time it takes to catch a fish or get a coconut. In fact, they get a lot of extra, and with that extra, they can now have some leisure time. And so it's out of this where trade comes. For example, Tor can get 10 fish in one day, whereas before he only could get one. So he has extra fish. He can put them in salt and save them for he and his wife or family to eat. Same with Sophia. She gets extra coconuts. She can get 10 coconuts versus just one or two in a day. So what happens when you have people who have the leisure time to build up an excess of things and they start getting out of this survival mode? The opportunity for trade comes in. So you may have somebody else in the village who makes baskets and blankets. Let's take an example of a woman named Kendra. She has some spare time, so she's able to do these kind of things because her husband worked really hard to catch a fish and get coconut for her. And Tor and Sophia like what they see. They like the basket, they like the blankets. So they come up with a trade, an idea that, hey, so many fish, I'll trade you so many fish for a blanket. I'll trade you so many coconuts for a basket, and vice versa. This is, in a sense, how trade arises, especially free trade. So what happens is they all set the value for what they're doing or what they're making. Kendra sets the value of what she makes, the baskets and the blankets. Tor and Sophia set the value of what they make, catching fish or getting coconuts. So what happens then is Kendra may say, hey, this basket I think is worth 2 fish. And because it took me a lot of time, this is what I've set it as value. And Tor will decide, is it worth 2 fish to him to have this basket? They may negotiate and go back and forth a bit. But what happens is that if they end up making a trade, it's a kind of a win-win situation. Both sides are enriched. In other words, Tor is not going to create blankets or make baskets. It's not something he really enjoys doing. He liked the fact that he can make a fishing pole and increase the supply of fish. And he likes ingenuity that way, whereas Kendra, she doesn't like fishing at all. But she likes the artistic craft making kind of thing. So for her, it's worth trading, making extra blankets and trading for the fish. What happens then is that once they agree on a value for both of them, so that maybe 1 fish equals 1 blanket, 2 coconuts equals a blanket or a basket. However it works out, whatever they decide, both win. Both will only trade, because remember, they're free to choose to trade. They can always say no, not worth it, and walk away. But this way, they set the value themselves, they make the trade, both win. Free trade works when people can choose. Nobody's forced to make a choice. If Kendra wants to catch fish, she can go out and catch fish, or have her husband do it for her, or somebody else she can rely on. If she wants to generate the time herself to be able to make a basket or blanket, she can figure that out. She doesn't have to trade. But once she has extra, like Tor and Sophia have extra, now they're in a position to trade. Everybody wins when they when they have the choice to trade or not. Now, there are always trade-offs in this idea, and the idea of trade-offs is important because trade-offs come when people have the freedom to choose. Freedom of choice is important. If you're going to have a world where people have more freedom to choose for themselves, trade-offs will always apply. If I love to create coats, I may not sell many during the summer, so I may have to come up with some kind of plan to be able to get through the summer. I may need to depend on other people, their skills, or what they will do for me if they'll carry me through. Or I have a way of making a trade where, hey, I'll sell you this clothing or I'll sell you this coat now if you will give me one fish a week through the summer or something like that. But whatever it is, as long as people have a choice and they can do these sorts of things, a trade economy then starts building community. People come together, people exchange, people have choices. Remember, we're on Gold Island, so everybody's honest. There's nothing like fraud or deceit going on here. But there is always a trade-off depending on what you're going to focus on. Trade economy assumes people must do work to build wealth, and it also assumes people are free to trade as they see fit. That freedom of choice is crucial. Edmund Burke once said, the principle of free trade is founded in justice and beneficial to the whole. This is how communities build. When you interfere with choices and start going too far down the road where there's not free trade, it starts interfering with community and true community building. So in the next episode, we're going to talk about how jobs are created. Jobs come out of trade, and we'll explain how. In the meantime, go to marcandrealexander.com for more information and check out Money and Wealth, What You Should Have Learned as a Teen on Amazon.com.